What's going on, guys? This is the WobblePet, and today I've got a video all about Nugget Bridge's new damage calculator, which you're seeing right now on your screens. Now, at a glance, this might not seem all that different from Pokemon Showdown's damage calculator or Gamut's damage calculator, but trust me, this thing is absolutely amazing for VGC players. For example, everything is preset to level 50, Citrus Berry works now, Mega Kangaskhan damage got fixed, and the sets from Nugget Bridge's team reports are implemented into the calculator. There's more than just that though, so I'll cover everything as I go along in the video. Now, I will note that this is more of a show and tell rather than a tutorial video. Check out my first damage calculator video if you'd like to know how to actually use this thing to create specialized EV spreads. All the information in that video transfers over to this new calculator. Finding Nugget Bridge's damage calculator is pretty easy. If you happen to be on the main page, or reading a Team Reporter article on Nugget Bridge, it is the link in the top right corner of the page. Alternatively, you can simply type nuggetbridge.com/damagecalc in the address bar, and you'll be taken to the same page. The Nugget Bridge damage calculator was modified from Gamut's version of the damage calculator, which was originally created by Honko. Tapin and Firestorm were the ones who took the calculator and changed it to match VGC standards, but Gamut has also been working from behind the scenes, helping to fix Mega Kangaskhan's damage and implement the Citrus Berry. Speaking of VGC standards, if you'll notice here, Abomasnow is automatically set to level 50. Every Pokemon is like this, even obscure ones like Girafarig. The Doubles tab is also set by default, so you don't have to worry about getting the wrong amount of damage for Earthquake, Rock Slide, Heat Wave, or another spread move. If you'll notice here at the top of the screen, there are links to Nugget Bridge, its forums, the Showdown VGC room, and the speed tiers. Here below the EVs column, there's another 0 here on Girafarig, and a 508 next to Abomasnow's EV column here on the right. This number keeps track of the total amount of EVs used on a Pokemon. For example, if I put 100 EVs in attack on Girafarig and 100 EVs in special defense, that gives us 200 EVs total. Now, if you go over 508 EVs, the number will turn red, but it'll still display the correct total. Now it says 704 EVs total, but it's in red to show that we've obviously gone over the limit. This feature is especially handy to check to see at a glance how many more EVs you have left to use, or how many EVs you've gone over the 508 EV limit. One potentially annoying feature you can run into on Showdown's damage calculator was when the calculator defaulted to the Pokemon's most damaging attack. While this can be useful, if you were looking at, say, Specs Hydreigon's Dark Pulse versus a Rotom Wash, and also had Draco Meteor on as a move, any change you made to Rotom Wash EV spread would automatically bring up Draco Meteor damage instead of Dark Pulse damage. See how any change I make to Rotom Wash's EV spread results in Draco Meteor coming up? Now, we could just take Draco Meteor off as a move. However, you can now just double click on the move itself. See the yellow highlight behind Dark Pulse? That shows the move is locked in. This feature is especially important because of the common Showdown sets that are now built into the calculator. For Pokemon that commonly run basic 252-252 EV spreads, or very close to 252-252 EV spreads, you can use the common Showdown option instead of the blank set option to save some time when setting up damage calculations. For example, if I wanted to see standard Breloom's Mach Punch damage against a standard Terrakion, I can just choose the common Showdown option for both Pokemon, and I have a Pokemon with EVs already built in, ready to go. As you can see here, Mach Punch has about 70 to 80% damage against 4 HP Terrakion. Now, you might notice that neither Breloom nor Terrakion has Protect as one of their moves, and Breloom is missing Spore, which is pretty important to have on it. Since Protect and Spore aren't going to actually do damage though, the top 4 most used damaging moves are listed instead of the status moves that a Pokemon might normally have. This is a damage calculator, after all. This does lead to some interesting common Showdown sets though, like Smeargle. Apparently Storm Throw is a thing? Smeargle movesets aside, while the common Showdown is a great tool to see the most commonly used moves on Showdown, sometimes the EV spreads aren't what would be likely seen in a tournament. For example, look at this Thundurus. While I'm sure some people do indeed run 252-252, I know other people run bulkier EV spreads to let their Thundurus stick around for multiple turns to spread Thunder Wave speed control. For these situations, it might be better to use the blank set option and put in a different EV spread that another player has posted online, like from a team report. If you find that tracking down EV spreads from team reports is boring, however, you're in luck. Carbonific, Another Nugget Bridge member is in charge of incorporating the EV spreads from the latest team reports into the damage calculator. For just Thunderous alone, there are 6 different EV spreads from various team reports that you can quickly bring up. They are organized with the most recent report's EV spread first, and the oldest EV spread last. Now, each one of these Thunderous EV spreads is probably going to be different and created for that specific team's needs, so I would still recommend checking out that person's team report to see what the EV spread was designed to do. When you first use Nugget Bridge's damage calculator, you might be confused about where to find the Mega Pokemon at. Rather than have the Mega Evolution separated from the non-Mega like in other damage calculators though, Nugget Bridge has included Megas within the base Pokemon's data. For example, on Kangaskhan, you would click the drop-down box by form and switch it to Mega Kangaskhan. The calculator has forms programmed this way, so you can easily calc against Mega and non-Mega forms without the need to change EV spreads. For example, if I wanted to compare the damage of Life Orb Bisharp's knockoff against regular Metagross and Mega Metagross, I would pull up both of their common showdown sets and lock in knockoff as my move. As you can see, switching between forms keeps EVs the same. If the Pokemon's Mega form is the most common on Showdown, it will automatically default to its Mega form with the damage calculator. The only time you can select different forms is if the Pokemon can change forms in the middle of battle. Pokemon like Landorus Therian and Rotom Wash still have separate entries for their individual forms, but Pokemon like Aegislash have form boxes for switching back and forth like the Megas do. Like I mentioned at the beginning of the video, we now have Citrus Berry as a part of our damage calculator. It works like you'd expect it to. Just tack Citrus Berry onto a Pokemon, and it will account for the extra HP in the damage calculation. For example, let's take a look at Mega Metagross' Zen Headbutt versus the 252 HP Rotom Wash. Normally, it says Zen Headbutt always 2-hit KOs. If we tack on the Citrus Berry, however, Zen Headbutt only 2-hit KOs Rotom Wash 84.2% of the time, which means it has a 15.8% chance of surviving the attack. Generally, if you want to always survive 2 attacks with the Citrus Berry, you want the attack to do less than 62.5% damage maximum. And of course, if you want to always pick up a KO in 2 hits after Citrus Berry, you're going to want your move to deal more than 62.5% damage at a minimum. Let's go ahead and EV Rotom to survive 2 Zen Headbutts while we're here. So we need to play around with our EVs here. 44 EVs makes about 50%, that's not enough. 100 EVs is pretty close. 124 is almost enough, so let's try 132. Yep, that works. It's a guaranteed 3-hit KO now. Notice how the maximum damage is just under 62.5%. There are a couple limitations with Citrus Berry right now though. Let's say I had a Choice Specs Hydreigon's Dark Pulse against a Rotom Wash with max HP, max special defense, and a calm nature. As you can see here, Dark Pulse can deal anywhere from 48 to 57% damage. Now, there's actually a small error here. Dark Pulse isn't a guaranteed 3-hit KO at all. It's entirely possible that Hydreigon could hit one of these first 4 damage rolls, which would deal less than 50% damage to Rotom, then get hit by one of these larger damage rolls and get knocked out without Citrus Berry even getting a chance to activate. For this particular example, Rotom actually has about an 18% chance of getting 2-hit KO'd, not a 0% chance like the damage calculator says. Tapin already knows about this issue though, so for all I know, it could already be fixed as you're currently watching this. Another feature Nugget Bridge's damage calculator has is the ability to correctly calculate the damage from Mega Kangaskhan. Before, it could have been off by about 2 to 3%, and it was annoying to try and calculate it accurately by breaking up the move and adding up the damage rolls from each hit of Double Edge, Low Kick, or wherever the attack happened to be. Let's look at Mega Kangaskhan's Double Edge versus the 252 HP Zapdos. As you can see, the damage rolls of Parental Bond hits are listed here. This is the regular hit, and this is the baby's second attack. Up here by the percentage of damage Zapdos takes, there's a range of damage. The number on the left is the 2 lowest damage rolls added together, and the number on the right is the 2 highest damage rolls added together. Since the damage calculator recognizes that each hit is separate now, it also gives a more accurate representation of the chance of Double Edge KOing its target. In this case, there's a 14.1% chance that a Jolly Double Edge picks up a knockout here. I should also note that when you use Power Up Punch, calculations automatically account for the +1 attack boost in between hits now. There is one limitation I know of with Mega Kangaskhan though, and it has to do with Citrus Berry as well. If I calculate Double Edge against a Rotom Wash, and Double Edge would normally one-hit KO without the Citrus Berry, it says Double Edge will always KO Rotom, but it could potentially survive the attack. For the sake of the example, I use a Rotom Wash with 132 HP EVs. As you can see here, the calculator states that Citrus Berry doesn't change the chance for Double Edge to KO. However, if you look at the individual hits of Double Edge, you'll find the opposite to be true. If Rotom took 112 damage from the first hit of Double Edge, then it would be left with 142 minus 112 HP, which is 30. However, Rotom would then eat its Citrus Berry. Since Rotom has 142 HP, 142 divided by 4 equals 35.5, which means Rotom recovers 35 HP from eating Citrus Berry. If we take our 35 Citrus Berry HP plus our HP we had left, 30, we get 65. Back at the damage calculator, you'll notice that the baby's hit can only do 57 damage at maximum, meaning Rotom actually survives Double Edge with the Citrus Berry 100% of the time, not 0% of the time. If I give Mega Kangaskhan +1 attack though, it'll definitely KO Rotom. As a general rule, if the attack's maximum damage is less than 125%, it won't KO, and if the attack's minimum damage is more than 125%, it'll always KO that target. Don't forget, this is only for Mega Kangaskhan. Like with the other Citrus Berry issue, Tapin is aware of the problem already. Let's see here, is that all the new features? Well, Friend Guard has been added for all you Clefairy lovers, and there has been a number of small bugs fixed, but I don't think I'll go into them here because it doesn't affect how you use the damage calculator. Let's say you found some new bugs though, or you have some cool features in mind that you'd like to request. One of the advantages of having active programmers is that your suggestions can be heard. In the description, there will be a link to the thread on Nugget Bridge where you can report bugs and make suggestions. I happen to have the link bookmarked on my computer, so I'll just go there now. If you have bugs to report, make sure you list exactly what's wrong and any steps you have that can be used to replicate the problem. After all, they can't fix it if they don't know what's wrong. Screenshots might help if it's tough to explain what's wrong in words. The bug could be anything from incorrect base stats, to a certain Pokemon making your browser slow or crash, to errors in how damage is being calculated. I recommend glancing at the last few posts to see if it has already been brought up though. Don't forget to check out the thread to see if your feature request has already been suggested. Things like importing Pokemon from Showdown, an all versus one or one versus all interface, boosts in stats showing up with their actual numbers, etc. have all been mentioned previously. Tapin, Firestorm, Gamut, and Carbonific are all volunteers, so they try to take care of all the requests we have, but understandably, it can be difficult to code everything we throw at them. Still, don't be afraid to throw suggestions out there. For all we know, it can make the calculator 10 times better. Well, that's about everything. I encourage you guys to switch over to Nugget Bridge's damage calculator, because it really does make calculations go a lot more quickly for VGC. Like I said at the beginning of the video, everything in my previous damage calculator video applies to Nugget Bridge's damage calculator. So check that out to learn the specifics of creating specialized EV spreads. Other than that, until next time, ciao!